We'll
Then
figure
you'll
it out.
have to leave. Please find your own exit, sir.
No, you don't have to leave. You can stay. Hey, everybody. We're live. Welcome in. It's another edition of 50 Toasts. This week, I'm excited to have Gregg Stone, one of my great radio buddies from way back, one of the first adopters of the Econo monologue at the beginning of time, the dawn of my radio existence. Let's do a few housekeeping things and we'll just knock it around with Gregg. Quick Snaps, the podcast, is continuing on in the off season. We're going to kind of follow the news and do about every other week as our current plan. So come find us at 7:30 Eastern. We record it live. You're welcome to jump in and ask questions, which you can do here with Gregg Stone as well. If you like, come on into the comment section. We can see stuff and we'll talk to you. On the Quick Snaps platforms on Twitter and Facebook, that's where it's live every other Monday for the off season. And 50 Toasts, this is the last one we're going to do for a while. We've had some technical difficulties, and I'm going to be doing some moving around. I want to make sure we're bringing you a good product. So we're going to take a 3 weeks off and figure out, make sure we know what we're doing with the technical stuff and make sure I'm landed in a new place with good internet before we come back. So thanks for coming to us. Thanks for watching.
Where are you moving to?
We're gonna talk about, we'll figure this out.
Where there's not good internet.
We're doing some moving. I get, once in a while the internet is so terrible when you're at a place.
On a boat off the coast.
My mother-in-law's in Florida. We go there and I'm like, I can't do radio from here. This doesn't work. So I want to make sure, I think it's going to be fine, but we're going to take at least a week off and we'll come back and find you guys. Patreon.com. Go there, type in Kostaki and figure out how to join and support all this kind of stuff. And come join us at All Pro Lines. It's basically football jokes. Who doesn't love football and jokes? And it's fun and it's easy and it's free. And you can even jump in and write jokes yourself. And I did a handful of jokes that the guys from All Pro Lines wrote today on Bob and Tom. So it's fun. Come join the fun. All right, that's enough. What's that?
How'd those jokes go over?
They went over great. It was actually kind of a funny construct because Tom Griswold keeps trying to pitch a setup on the air so that people will write jokes for it. So last week I let him. I go, well, I don't have one right now. And he goes, I said, but it's fun sometimes to just write a setup of a joke and not be responsible for writing the punchline because these guys will jump in there. I said, if you have one. And so he pitched one. It was Jeff Bezos is talking about being a part owner of the Washington football team, right? Mm-hmm. So basically the setup was, if that happens, then what? And people wrote, there were good 5 or 10 good jokes, it's pretty funny.
Some zingers,
yeah. If he buys the Washington football team, that $38 billion divorce will be his second biggest mistake. There's one. Somebody else wrote that joke. That's a good joke.
I don't know. Maybe he'll be able to invest in the team. There's no punchline.
You should join us. You're good at this stuff. You should come into All Pro Lines, Gregg Stone. All right, Gregg Stone, everybody. Let me give you a proper introduction. This guy's a giant of radio. He's been in and around the Denver universe doing radio. Is it 35 years? Is that the right number, Gregg?
Long time. Yes.
That's a long time. You can hear his voice right now. It's awesome. Just listening to him is a pleasure. He's earthy, he's smart, he's real. He's been very kind to me over the years. And I kind of want to, one of the things I want to talk to you about is the arc of your radio process, because has anything changed more than radio in the last 35? I mean,
wow.
It's night and day, right?
It's crazy.
You guys had carts, which to the casual observer is almost like an 8-track.
Almost 4 tracks is what they were. But before that, we had, vinyl.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, you did vinyl. You literally had 2 record players and would play a song and talk and be changing the record and everything.
Yeah. At KVOP in Plainview, Texas.
That's great.
14 years old.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Went in there and told them I'd sweep the floors, and next thing I know, I'm running the joint.
That's awesome. Now tell me about that. Is that as hard as it looks to get right? Because you're thinking and talking and doing at the same time. Do you get into a flow where it just feels natural?
There's some prep involved.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. You pull your music, and you've got one that's ending and one that's going to start. So there's not a whole lot of Dr. Johnny Fever shit going on. You've already cued the record. It's the second one's ready to go. And then you had your imaging, and then some songs, depending on the source, on cart, but most of the carts were mono. So you had to have a stereo cart player to get, broadcast quality for music. And then the introduction of CDs. And then at the time, CD players, industrial CD players were so expensive that, most radio stations just went out and got, just a regular home playing CD. And they were maybe the first were like 3 times sampled. I remember that was the big deal that, these are sampled 3 times, and then you'd touch the board and the laser beam would skip across the disc, or you put your thumb on it. We had signs all over the control room. Don't touch the disc with your hands unless on the edges. That was ridiculous. And we had, it was a big deal from the compact disc library.
Right. Right. That's right.
Yeah. And so you would feature that. And I remember people calling me going, that sucks, because they'd skip all the time. They'd skip, a thumbprint would ruin it. And they're like, that's you remember that? How it would sound?
Do.
Yeah. And
I do. Like, now, what happens when that's happening on the air? Is there a panic and you're shutting it down? You're starting a different song? Or are you?
That's one thing. You can hit imaging, 94 FMX. And then just go into the next one. Or you just come in, you go, technology people. Because they think it's your fault. It doesn't matter,
right.
What the reason is just the operator's an idiot. Whoever's on the air right now is a moron. Oh my God, I can't believe you allow that. So you come on and then lay blame where it belongs and then go on. I used to say I'd just stop it and get it out and I'd wipe it off and I go explain what I was doing because the technology was so new, and then put the disc back in and shut it and then play it and then try to explain to people and turn it into a bit,
Right.
I used to smoke cigarettes back in the day, and on the air, you never really smoked a whole cigarette. You never had time, but one was always lit. You made 2 tracks. And you sat it down, right? And then I just would have these enormous butts, these butts with enormous ash on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was in. I did that first track and set it down, and then you look over there and you go, "That's kind of full," and you dump it into the trash. And I was doing overnights at this station in the Panhandle, Lubbock, Texas, and I'm doing my bit on the radio. I'm like 19, 20 years old. I'm like, and the trash can's on fire now. Flame coming out of the trash can because I was dumping the ashtray in there. And so, I just did what anybody would do. I stood up and pissed on the flames in the trash
nice. Yeah, that's
on the air and talked about it. You never believe what's going on. There's a fire in here. Don't call anybody. I got it. Because listeners would do that. They'd help you out.
That's a rock and roll DJ right there.
I got stories that I'm not sharing today. I don't know who's watching or listening, but they're a lot worse than that.
That's great. That's all right. So more questions. So go back to the carts, because I don't think people understand how this works. It was literally, you would have whatever, the local Ford dealership would have an ad that was recorded on the cart, right? And so you would come out of a song and then you would go from cart to cart, run a few ads, and then back to a song with different technology.
Yeah, they used to make them. They'd make them like a single load for just one cart, or you could stack them so that then they like it 3. So you had 3 machines, and then you'd put them in, and you probably had 3 more on the other side, or they were stacked on the same side. And then you just had your spots in there, and you'd pull back in the day, there was a lot more technical prep. You came in and there was no computer. Mm-hmm. The fuck was that? It was a shoebox with cards in it. And then you had this printed off piece of paper with all the different categories, A, B, C, D, whatever the program director decided to label everything. And then there were some rules, right? Everything, that wasn't a current had to be placed or played twice in 2 other day parts before your day part could play it again. And these cards were specifically, made, for radio, and you put the title in there. And then the program director would he'd mark out where you couldn't play it.
Right.
Don't play it. I better not hear it between, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Right.
Someone's fired. They, even back in the day, they would put like stickers on the tracks, on the LPs that they didn't want you to play.
Oh, wow.
You try to peel it off and it's all that goos on it and like skipping record was great though. You just help it a little bit.
Because the song was too lame for the station, or it wasn't the right format.
Yeah, or just powered. You didn't want people experimenting, and God forbid, we were the only fucking rock station, between Amarillo and Midland, Odessa. What are you going to do if you listen to rock music, right? Oh, I heard a deep track off of my favorite band. Oh, turn that shit off. But these carts, back to the carts. So you'd come out of a song and 1067 KBPI, whatever the message is or the bit is. And when you come back, we'll come back, we'll play you some Bay Area metal and, the latest from Black Crowes. Boom. So, on your control board, you'd have different pots or sliders, depending on what you had for a control board, and you'd have the remote start. So some stations that I worked for, back in the day, didn't have remote start. So you had to turn the pot on and then hit the button on the start deck. So, but, quality radio stations had remote starts and you'd hit it off the board and it would play and they would trip one another. You could sync them up so you can set tones on those carts. Once again, if you're just joining us, these carts look like 8 tracks. Okay, but 4 tracks. But the similar housing.
That's such a radio thing to think and do. If you're just joining us, that's the most radio thing you've ever said.
We're here with Kostaki. If you're just joining us,
you gotta reset the table every 14 seconds,
right? Anyway, so they would trip each other. So that you'd put a sectone when you're in the production room creating a commercial or downloading, from reel to reel onto these carts. Because that's how we would make our commercials anyway. We'd probably, I remember the first time we had multi-track stuff was, 83, 84 in Lubbock, Texas. So we had a little 4-track in there and messing with that. And then you would finalize to the cart because you'd have all these different sources. You've already eaten up the 4 tracks. Now you've got to have 3 different pieces of music and you want a sound effect. Boom, boom, boom. Let me tell you, if you didn't get it right back in the day, you were there for hours. Oh, it's taking a 60-second commercial was awful. It takes forever. I can do a 60-second commercial now in 58 seconds.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's right.
Use sound effects, everything. It's pretty incredible. So, and then you'd put that on the carts and then label it and put it in the cart rack. And then, that's how all commercials and most of the imaging, the sound effect stuff that radio stations use, that's how they would be played on the radio. And then automation back in the day utilized those carts. They had these huge carousels and there'd be like 99 slots.
Okay.
And you'd have these big, huge.
That was the bridge.
Fucking computer. It was crazy, and you could sit there and watch it, and those carousels would move and then pull a card in to be played depending on what you programmed. So,
wow.
So watching all that change, and then the first time I had any sort of digital editor, believe it or not, was Salt Lake in '96.
Okay, so, that must have blown your mind. That's a game changer.
Genius, this is a game changer. Because I was still using razor blades and tape, up until '96. And, I was in Denver from 90 to 94. Then I went out to California for a couple of years, and then to Salt Lake, and then back to Denver. So,
okay.
And then when I got back to Denver, we had a digital editor and the internet.
Yeah.
It was great. It's like, wow. This is
right.
Crap movies.
Oh, my goodness.
And then, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was just going to prompt you for the next chapter of this. So then what happened?
Well, then, then you got these like smaller digital editors. Okay. That you could load stuff on and have hotkeys. Right. And they were all with a flywheel, and you just, basically, mark and then roll and then mark your out. And then, you can move it or copy it or delete it, whatever you wanted to do with that. And then we got Profit, Next Gen. So this guy, he sold his idea to iHeart, or I can't even remember what we used to be called.
There's
Clear
been some
Channel.
changes.
Clear Channel, and they tried to wash that memory from my mind. So we were Clear Channel, and so Bob invented this program, this digital program, so he could, not pay people. I mean, God bless Bob. I'm not bagging on Bob, because it's a small radio station in Ogallala, Nebraska. Okay, so it's not like there's a ton of fucking people working there to begin with. He owned the place. He sold for the station. He was the air talent. He was everything. Okay, so in order to be able to do everything, he and his son, I believe, helped create this program, and so that way he could voice track and then go out and sell the station.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that was an in-house small radio business invention. That's great.
Little bitty town in Nebraska.
Oh, that's cool.
And then that actually became the training site for Profit. And then after Profit was Next Gen, which is what most iHeart radio stations use to this day. So
now that's what I wanted to get to. So now your touch screen and
everything is all on the hard. Yeah, all in the system.
Wow. And you were telling me 50 something stations, you're voice tracking all over the country.
For another company. Yeah, called LRN. So we got all formats, but hip hop. But I do the classic rock, I program it, and I do afternoons, and we're on, 50 some odd signals across America.
That's great.
So then I do a bunch of stuff for iHeart as well in non-conflicting markets. So.
No, yeah, I'm familiar with that situation, right?
Yeah.
Hey, you want to do the economy monologue? Bob and Tom is here, so no. Yeah, right. I'm familiar.
And I want to go back and talk about football jokes.
Yeah,
because didn't you try that on us?
Yeah, you were very early while I was trying to figure out if it was a thing. Yeah, absolutely. You were great. And we even had our own branding.
It was Blown Dead.
We called it Blown Dead, and you had this little piece put together that had like ref whistles and people yelling hut hut hut, and then we would do football jokes. Blown Dead. I forget. I would love to hear that.
Yeah, that was such a much better title, but you can't get on TV.
Yeah, that's right. It's a little. Yeah, you've been great to me always. I owe you a thank you. Because
that's not why I brought that up. I like the name.
No, absolutely. That's one of the things I want to talk about. Like I guess I came in there as a comic, working Comedy Works, and we hit it off. And I was trying to figure out this thing. Yeah. Right.
When I first met you, you were married at the time.
I wasn't married. I wasn't married, but it was, yes.
Well, you were holding her purse, whatever that was.
That's pretty close. Close enough.
So, I mean, you and I hit it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
We could talk about stuff. She didn't talk about sports.
No, we hit it off. And in fact, you offered me a job. We almost became partners on the radio. Do you remember this?
Yeah. I had an offer to work sports talk.
Right.
Wanted you to come help me do it.
I loved it. I've only had two things that I've ever said no to that were like legit things that I still wonder about. Like, what if I had done that? And that was one of them. I had a small kid in New York City. I could move to Colorado and start a radio career.
Yeah, the money was kind of because we had to prove ourselves. Right. So the money was kind of So you were still on the fence on that because I got a kid.
Right. If it was a giant amount of money, I could figure out a way to come back and forth. Right. But even that would have been really hard to say yes to. I'm
like, you can stay on the couch.
It's a whole different. That's right. It's a whole different life that I didn't get to have, and I'm flattered by the invite, and I kind of wish I had done it sometime. So, yeah.
Well, I always thought you're really funny and you're down to earth. You're not. I
feel the same way. You're so easy to talk to, and we had a great rapport. We could have been great radio partners.
Folks, we turned the mic off, and then, Matt Need. I don't know if Matt's watching today, but Matt was a great part and a big part of all that success back in the day.
Right.
He and his girl are out in Nashville.
Oh,
Yeah.
are they
Living in
doing radio
Nashville.
out there?
No, he's doing stuff in the music scene and with some nightclubs and
Oh,
Shell's
cool.
cooking. She's a chef. So
I love Matt Need.
yeah,
He's another one that, well, he was part stand-up, right? I mean, he was at least
yeah,
knocking around open
yeah.
mics.
He managed a ton of rock bands through his
Right.
history as well too. So, but that's what he was a writer, and I think he really wanted, to write for people.
Right. He was very funny, and
I loved it.
yeah. See, that's the thing. It's not all DJs want to talk to a comedian. First of all, it's a weird challenge to know that when to shut them up and when to come in and when to back off, and it's a skill that not everybody has, and and it's also a pain in the ass. Sometimes they're too ego driven or not funny or sleepy or hungover. It's tricky talking to comics. So yeah, you guys were always easy to talk to. That's why I pitched you all the crazy things that I was figuring out as we went along.
Right.
So I appreciate it, man.
We'll tell you the truth.
Hey, I was just watching a couple of these what do you call it? Classic rockumentaries?
My podcast.
I listened to a few little pieces. Is it a full podcast as well?
Well, what I do is I just do segments. I do anywhere between 2 and 6 minute segments, and then
that's what I found it like an hour ago, and I listened to 2 of them. I was like, oh, I love these.
So yeah. So it's easy to consume, and it's usually something you want to hear about. I got a great one with Don Henley and Don Felder talking about Hotel California. They're not together, of course. They can't stand you. Well, Felder's a really, he's a sweet guy. He's a nice person. And Don Henley, I talked to him. He was okay. But, you mentioned Don Felder's name, and it's just all of a sudden a switch, goes off in Henley's head. And, but it was cool. He maintained his cool, and he talked about the song, and, it was unique to hear, the perspective of Felder, who wrote the song, the music, and Henley, who says, it was a piece of shit when I got it, and I shined that motherfucker, and it was awesome after I got done with it.
Yeah, right. Right.
So, and that's cool to have those perspectives side by side, and right. Especially when they don't talk. So,
where can people who are watching, where can they find this?
At thefox.com. Just go to Air Talent. I believe it's up too. I think it's podcast, an iHeart podcast. It's called Classic Rockumentary.
Okay, I listened to them on the station site. There were several of them posted.
That's where
you can play them right there. Yeah.
So that's thefox.com, and then go to Air Staff and then Gregg Stone.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, though, that's one of my other questions. Like, you've talked to a lot of heroes. You're a huge rock fan and a metalhead and everything from way back. And then you grow up and you get to meet some of these characters. Do you have any sort of peaks and valleys, kind of like the guys who were just as great as you want them to be, and then total jerk offs? And there's the full range, right?
Well, luckily for me, most of my idols, were cool people. Very cool people. So
I'm happy to hear that.
My very first interview was with Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden.
Oh, wow.
I was 20 years old, and I was fucking nervous. So nervous. And we were pre-taping, thank God. And this was at FMX in Lubbock. And at the time, man, Maiden, they're so fan friendly. They played the Texas Tech soccer team, and we had fans, Iron Maiden fans and FMX fans and soccer fans all come out to watch it. And then
in the middle of the day before the show.
Oh yeah. And then he put on a fencing exhibition. Bruce Dickinson did, and then he talked to me, and I was like, "Man, what's happening?" He's like, "Greg, it's all right. It's all right. Just relax. It's okay." All right. I was like, "Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. Thank you, sir."
Do you have tapes of all these things? You've done so many of these, right?
Sadly, when when I left iHeart in 2012, I didn't get a lot. I had 15 years of interviews and great stuff, like the comics I had. Like
Oh yeah,
Greg Giraldo. I had all these guys that have
all those
passed.
guys came through Comedy Works.
Man.
Yeah, right,
Yeah, and we had them all, you know,
right.
and it was I was sad to have lost a lot of that stuff.
Oh man, that hurts. Yeah.
Eddie Van Halen, great interview, great
Uh,
guy, super cool.
oh,
And I thought I had this really profound. I interviewed him in San Jose when I was working at KSJO, and I thought I had this really profound line. I was like, "Wow, Edward Van Halen." I go, "Man, that first record changed my life." And he goes, "It changed mine too." I was like, "That was fucking stupid." Now what? Where's the beer?
now what?
Where's the beer? But I got to talk to him about reunions and Dave, and then I partied with David Lee Roth a couple of times, and talked to him on the phone, and been backstage and interviewed him as well, and that was wicked cool. That was so cool to be included. It was the Eat 'em and Smile tour, and that's like, it's got to be 93, I think. I don't know, 92 maybe. And Cinderella. Remember that band, Cinderella?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were opening up, and it was Barry Fay, the promoter, did 2 for 1 because it sold like shit, and grunge was taking over, and so
that's interesting.
the place. Dave was like, "This is the last show on the tour. I want it packed." So Barry, if you got a ticket, bring a friend. 2 for 1, all GA. Come on in, and it was about 13,000 people that showed up, and it was a great show. It was awesome. And then I knew the record guy pretty good. And he's like, "Hey man, you want to go do Big Fat Lines with Dave?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" we went to the Westin, and I'm sure everybody, it's not like I'm telling anything that shouldn't be told.
I think he's embraced that image at this point.
He had this briefcase, man, with all the fucking drugs labeled, like who gave it to him and what town and shit, in case something bad happened.
Wow.
He'd come back and, serve whoever dissed him, I guess. But there was chicks everywhere in the hotel room, and we're all doing gack, and it was nuts. It was nuts. He played me that demo of him doing, all that kind of Nolan sounding ragtime stuff, that Frank Sinatra stuff that he wanted to do, that he tried to do in Vegas. And I was listening to it for what do you think? I was like, I'm high on coke. It's great.
I've never been happier. Yeah. Right.
And then it was like the sun was up. I was like, I gotta go. And he's like, me too. I'm going to the Flatirons in Boulder to climb. And he'd been up all night partying with me and everybody else, and he went and fucking rock climbed.
Oh my goodness gracious. That's insane.
That was a great meeting of, because old Van Halen, David Lee Roth Van Halen, was just huge when we were kids. It
was the thing. Right. It was, that's cool.
And it was good and bad for me, because I want to be just like that, and I was off the rails there for a couple of decades.
Yeah.
So,
that was my next question, actually. How does he remain good at a thing if that's how he lives? Is he able to kind of turn it on and off?
I don't think he lives like that anymore. And it was definitely the last night of the tour. And this was Eat 'em and Smile, and Cinderella's Heartbreak Station album. So it's like 92, 93 or whatever. So he's probably still living life pretty large. He's not like, he doesn't behave that way these days.
Right.
No.
Right.
And he was always a health nut too. So, it was crazy. He lived the rock and roll lifestyle, but he was always working out and eating right. And, you have to be able to do lines all night long and then go fucking negotiate some of those rocks there at the Flatirons.
I'm trying to think of a worse combination. That's crazy.
Not if you're used to it, I guess.
Good for him.
So
that
was pretty incredible. And then, do you remember this band called Scatterbrain? Don't call me dude. Hey dude, don't call me dude. Remember that song?
I remember that song. I don't remember the name. Yeah.
Okay. Tommy Christ was in this band called Ludacris. out of New
Oh,
York, in the
oh,
late
yeah.
80s. And they formed Scatterbrain. And I used to go to this heavy metal convention every year called Concrete Foundations in Southern California. And it was great, man.
That's a
It
great
was a lot
title.
of control. And, everybody would come, Ozzy, Judas Priest, Pantera, all these bands would play Foundations and do meet and greets. And then there's tons of, it's a convention. So there was a lot of talks, a lot of forums, about radio, promotion, all that, business shit. But the showcases were off the charts and great bands.
Wow.
And so we're Tommy Christ. I helped get Scatterbrain. It was a novelty hit. Then I helped get it on the radio in Denver, and they were really cool. And my band at the time, back in the early days, Nasty's Nightmare, we opened up for Scatterbrain a couple of times when they'd come to Denver.
Oh, cool.
And so we had this relationship, and so we're all drinking. It's like noon, and we're getting hammered. And we're like, hey, let's just try to go upstairs into the Playboy suite. I heard Gene Simmons is up there. So we all fucking jump on the elevator and then hold the elevator. Boom, it's Dave Mustaine from Megadeth.
Wow.
He gets in. So we're all going up. And he's not with us. He's just there. He just wanted to go up. And he had recently talked shit about Kiss and Gene Simmons and how they were a joke little kiddie band and all this other shit. And the elevators open up and it's fucking Gene Simmons being interviewed by Playboy TV. I mean, the doors open up and Gene looks at us and, it's Dave's in front because, he's the man. He's the last to get on the elevator. So maybe that's why. But he's like, Mr. Mustaine. He's like, I'm sorry, Gene. I'm sorry. I love you, man. Kiss is such a big influence on my life. He wasn't crying like a bitch, but he sure did sound like one. It was hilarious.
Wow.
All this stuff in the press about Kiss at the time, people have, especially in the entertainment and music business, Kostaki, alcohol and drugs, are a big part of saying the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Dave's a much different person, but at the time, it was funny to watch Dave grovel, to Gene Simmons.
Oh, wow.
And then,
That's so interesting.
and then we were just like, can't believe we saw that, Tommy Christ and I, and then the doors shut, and I turned around, I was like, watch this, and it's just stupid shit, headbutt, there's glass mirrors all in this elevator.
Oh.
And I was like, smash, boom, big dead head, blood on my forehead.
It's great.
Back down to the bar. How did it go? We saw Gene Simmons and Dave Mustaine hug and make up. What happened to your head? I'm not sure. I don't know. It was a crazy elevator ride. And so just looking to have adventures, and you're in a position like I was in at the time, you'll have them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun to hear that really is, that rock and roll lifestyle really existed, and it wasn't just for show, and those guys are going bananas and enjoying their lives. It's, you think that's what's happening, but you never know, right?
Well, if you're on the road, I'm sure it gets old. But if you're going to this heavy metal convention and it's a one-off and you're there for 2 days on somebody else's tab.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. Right. That's fun. Right.
Exactly.
That's right. Now, let me ask you this about radio going forward. Like, where are we here? I feel like I have two metaphors for you. You know so much more about radio than I do. One is radio is it's a sinking ship, but it's a giant ship and it's sinking very slowly, right?
Yes, put it in perspective. It's still iHeart's major revenue maker. Okay. So despite all the downloads of podcasts, iHeart makes a ton of money off of terrestrial radio. Yes.
And it's old school revenue. We're advertising the local Chinese restaurant, and there's a
national and local ads.
There's a Toyota dealership down the street, and you go, yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. And the other metaphor I had was Well, I scribbled some notes here so I didn't forget this shit. Where is it? Uh,
For you.
yeah, I'm dumb. I don't know if I didn't look at the notes. No, I
Uh,
feel like radio's like like network television. When cable came along, everyone was like, network television is dead. I'm like, no, network television, whatever it is now, 30 years later, 40 years later, is still making some of the best television. It's just not the only game in town anymore, right?
right.
So I feel like radio will always be. It's just a matter of how big a slice it has and the pie of things that are going into your ear holes. There's just a lot of choices now, right?
And because of that, we're short and sweet on the radio these days. There's not a whole lot of, we did Rock with Talk back in the day. When you would come on, in an hour, I might play 5 songs and the rest would be us talking. And that's not like that anymore. They don't want that anymore because people have the ability to receive content and music in multiple formats, and platforms. So it's you've got to be part of the way consumers consume. So if you're not fast and quick, if you're not giving them what they want, they go somewhere else. So you gotta figure it out. You gotta modify. But we're still there. People still like live and local. They still want to hear what's going on in their town, especially when they're going to and from work. So drive time's still big. Big.
I feel like local will save radio, right? That's the beauty of radio. You're talking about the politician and the traffic thing and this, the Broncos suck and whatever is happening right there. Yeah. Okay. Hey, by the way, Swami Rob said to say hi to you.
Oh, I love Swami. He's good people.
You're my path to Swami Rob. So thank you for that too. Swami's been one of the great supporters of Quick Snaps for years.
Oh, he's a good guy. It's funny. Kostaki, Quick Snaps is awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. You're great. So for the people who are viewing, Swami is a big shot radio guy in Albuquerque, and
94 Rock.
94 Rock. That's right.
Yeah, he did.
And Mahoney have been great.
And he took a TJ Trout spot when TJ retired.
Oh, I don't know that name.
TJ Trout. Swami. When you started with Swami, he was doing afternoons.
Okay. Yeah, he bounced around. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
wow, it's been a long time ago.
Great radio guy, hell of a bass player, and a good dad.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a pretty good combination in life.
Hey, you watch Swami? Hey, buddy.
Hey, yeah, if we could just talk him into wearing shoes when he's out there playing.
I need that gig there.
He won't wear the shoes. All right, I'm looking at comments. You got a bunch of people coming. Oh, Andreas is here, and Ron and Tony. What's up, guys? Diddle-a-dee. If you guys have questions, chime in here. Most of these people they're just commenting and chiming in. Josh Kowal, Ronald Schultz. Ronald Schultz says you're the voice of some TV shows. Which ones and how did all that come about?
Storm Chasers and Alaskan Bush Pilots.
Tell me about that. That's
audition. Yeah, just auditions.
But then is it like doing the radio where they just give you scripts and you do a read and you send it in?
Somebody's in your ear. There's a director.
Okay.
Try this one more time.
Right.
Do it with more of this and less of that.
I've seen that up close with a certain character whose purse I used to carry, and it seems like obviously it takes a lot of skills to prepare to get to that moment, but once you get that job, it seems like stealing money. Those jobs are easy to do, right? Am I crazy?
Well, unless you're, talking for 3 hours at a time, straight, it could be difficult. It really can. Your voice is going to go.
And to be focused and in the moment and do all the things.
You don't have to go 3 hours. And then if you've got a director who doesn't know what the fuck he or she wants, I want, 12 reads for the same line.
Yeah, right.
Like this. And then you're like, okay. Sure would hate to have to produce this and go through all this shit. That's for sure. That's the real job. All that together. right? I mean, and you're just doing what they ask you to do. So
I know, but it's hard to be good at it. Like it seems like gathering the skills to be good in the moment like that takes years and
obviously, I've
years.
only done 2 shows.
Right. Right. But once you're there, it's like, oh, okay, this is, I could do this.
And it's such a sea of talent. There's a lot of really, good narration voices out there.
Right.
And so a lot of times you're just fulfilling EOE requirements. So,
What
they already know
requirements?
they already know who they want. So
Oh, okay. I got you.
So, right? They're not even listening to your audition.
Matt Fleisch says, dude, Scatterbrain rules. I just got here.
Hey, dude, don't call me dude.
Yeah.
Hand in my face. I love that song. That's right.
J-Dub said, lots of fun as always. Really enjoying these stories. That's great. Tell me about hockey. Every time I look at any of your pages, it's you and your sons, and it's hockey.
Oh, man.
Did you grow up playing hockey?
No, I'm okay. So the deal is now I was born back east, and then we spent some time over in Japan and the Philippines during Vietnam. My dad did stuff for the government, and then we moved back to New England.
Wait a minute, whole time out. That was very like did stuff for the government. It sounds fishy as fuck. What does that mean?
No, that's all I'm allowed to share. And so it was probably 74. We moved back to the States. We moved back to New England. My dad was born, in Marblehead, Massachusetts. So he was a hockey player. And my mom is French Canadian. She's from Drummondville, Canada. My grandfather owned a junior team back in the 50s. So there's a lot of hockey in our family. My uncle was the backup goalie for the Canadian Army team. So there's some love for the sport. And I had played it up until 9, and then we moved to Texas. 1975 in Texas.
Between Texas and Vietnam, I can't believe any hockey happened ever. This is a crazy story.
No hockey happened for a long time. Occasionally we'd go back east or go up. We had property up in Cloudcroft, New Mexico.
All right.
And we'd go up there in the wintertime and we'd skate there, but nothing really. And then I started having kids and put them and learn to skate, because I was like, hey, let's play. My dad passed away playing hockey. He had a heart attack on the ice.
Oh my goodness.
And so
there's more hockey backstory than I would have ever guessed.
And so I was like, it's very important to me, to try to, get my kids, to see if they would like this sport. So they did. And so then I wasn't going to sit on the sidelines. I started, going to learn to play hockey, skates where, there'd be a coach running you through drills and stuff. And just to, because it'd been.
But you're a grown up. Who starts playing hockey when you're, what are you?
Back up at 38.
I was going to say you're right about 40. 54. That's crazy.
Yeah. And, I had during this period between starting and my age now, I had both my hips replaced. I had this fucked up.
This is an impossible hockey story. You have no excuse for playing hockey. This is ridiculous.
I had a birth defect that I didn't know about. I just thought I was slow. My football.
You can't keep your mouth shut. Was that it by any chance?
My football coaches were like, "How can you be that tall and so slow?" so the balls of the end of the femur that go into the hip socket were like a fist. So all this time, it's just eating away at all the cartilage, and so. 44, it started to really fucking hurt. And then 48, I couldn't take it anymore. And I had them replaced.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then back to hockey again?
Oh, yeah. That's what I told. That was the big thing. I told the doctor, I was like, I'm not doing this if I can't skate. I'll fucking tough it out. He goes, oh, you can skate. He was a big Canadian orthopedic who played hockey.
Yeah, see? There's so many factors in your hockey story.
Oh yeah, I got to keep playing. My oldest son, won a state championship with Cherry Creek High School.
Wow.
He went on to play juniors in Minnesota. And my youngest boy is a senior, and he plays for Evolution over at Big Bear Ice Arena in East Denver.
Wow.
So
that's good. I mean, I'm a Southern boy. For me, hockey is like slippery indoor soccer. It's hard for me to even understand what the appeal is. But
yes, you can watch a hockey game, a pro hockey game, and the whistle doesn't blow for 8 minutes. What sport does that?
Yeah, that's a good pitch. I like the sports that don't stop. That's what I liked about Australian rules football. It's a big fluid.
Rugby's great.
Rugby's great the same way. Yeah. Aussie rules is like rugby meets ultimate frisbee. It's weirdly open, and there's these long kicks, and the play does not stop. Yeah, I agree. I like that.
Big hits. People like the violent impacts and the skill.
And the kicking, and it's huge. That's another thing people don't know about Aussie rules. It's 18 on 18, I believe, and it's in these ridiculously huge fields that they used to play cricket in, right?
Right. It's like prison gang warfare.
You can't even. People who follow me know the answer to this, but can I give you the quick quiz on this? This is fun. Okay. I went to a couple Aussie rules games when I was there. What happens at the end of their championship game if it ends in a tie? This has happened twice in the last 50 years. Their Super Bowl, right? It's a big deal. I mean, their stadium in Melbourne holds over 100,000, and it's fucking sold out.
There's no overtime? What do they do?
Well, give me a guess. Give me a couple guesses. It's inconceivable. This answer will blow your mind.
A fight.
A fight's a funny answer. It's very Aussie of them. They
chug beer.
They chug beer is also a good guess. It's their Super Bowl, right? If it ends in a tie, which almost never happens because their scores are like 106 to 97. I mean, the scores are crazy. But twice in the last 40, 50 years, this has happened. Their Super Bowl ends in a tie. They play the game again the next week.
They start over?
They play a second Super Bowl the following week.
How fucking cool is that?
Why didn't we get that when the Falcons tied the game?
It's awesome. More fucking Australian rules football. The championships isn't over. There's another week.
Right. No, we're doing it again.
Let's pray for a tie.
I mean, it's a giant ratings grab. Think how the money they could make if they played the second Super Bowl.
But that's brutal, man. That's a tough sport, and they don't wear pads.
They don't wear pads, and it is insanely brutal. Yeah, and it's fun, and it's more fluid and open. It's a lot more kicking and passing than you think it is if you just watch the highlights. League? I went to a tournament once because a friend of mine was playing in it in New York. We got on a bus and went to a fucking Aussie rules tournament. No, that's not for me, especially now.
Right,
but I like the game.
So yeah, it is. I like watching. I don't. It's not that hard to understand. No. I don't know all the rules and the intricacies, but it's fun to watch because it doesn't stop. That's what's appealing.
Yeah, I agree. I'll give you that on hockey. That's one of the appeals of hockey.
And the skill and the speed that these guys do. The skill is crazy.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Wow. All right. What's it like to have an adult kid? You got a 22? Is that right? You got a 22-year-old?
30-year-old almost. My daughter is almost 30.
Oh, the daughter's the older one.
Yeah. And then I have a 22-year-old son and then a soon-to-be 18-year-old son.
Oh, you're a Christmas future. So what's it like? Can you smoke weed with them and talk about life? Like, can you relax? Can you stop worrying, or does it get worse? What happens?
It's two of them I can do that with. And then, yeah.
That's right.
I would prefer that they would wait till, their brains are developed, and I don't want to see it if they're underage around me, but I'd tell you the truth. I'd rather have them smoke than drink.
Yeah.
I
hear you.
Yeah. And being, I don't drink and I don't do narcotics anymore. So, or any less. No. fucking drunk joke. I don't drink anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Less.
Mitch Hedberg. I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too.
I had 2 great interviews with Mitch. Yeah, that I lost in that when I left in 2012.
Love Mitch.
Oh man, Mitch. I could have. I could have went on. I could have retired and just done podcasts for the rest of my career.
You could just by playing the bits and the conversations. Yeah, because you guys did a real interview show. It wasn't just a couple of quick things. Like we would be in there talking to you for a while. That's what I loved about that show. Yeah,
it was fun. I thought, I thought we cut up, and for a while there, it was really successful, and and then the way people receive content and music changed. So
right,
it didn't really. It just there was more options.
Right. Yeah. Now tell me, not to rub salt in the wound, but how does it work? Is it like Letterman's top 10 list? Like the network owns it. You can't go get those interviews. Those don't belong to you.
Well, I suppose I don't want to get into it because everything is hunky dory with iHeart and I.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're friends, and I love those people, especially my local people. They're folks that I've worked with for decades.
Okay.
So getting into the particulars of losing all that isn't worth it. So
okay, fair. Yeah. Fair. Very diplomatic.
It's not there anymore.
Look at you with the grown-up answer to keep you out of trouble. Good. All right. That's cool, man. It's great to talk to you.
You too, buddy.
We should do radio.
I tried to get you to, but $2.98 an hour just wasn't cutting it for me. Come on down, man. You can stay on my couch.
We tried a lot of different models. One year actually called you, and I just promoted my FanDuel sign up. That was my form of payment when FanDuel was blowing up. Yeah, that's right. I get a handful of FanDuel dollars to call Nasty.
Hey, we can't pay you, bro, but you can plug whatever's paying you.
Yeah, right. I get it. I totally get it. All right. So
I like this podcast. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the people who are watching, you can find this again on YouTube, and I leave it up on Twitter and Facebook. So you can watch it in all these places, and you can share it from those places. You can comment, you can engage. And of course, you can come live when we come back from hiatus and ask us questions and interact while it's happening as well. And we appreciate all that stuff.
Thanks.
Tell us again where we find the rockumentary stuff.
Okay, that's at thefox.com. And then you just go to the menu and then choose air staff.
The radio station in Denver owns thefox.com. That seems like kind of a go-to phrase. How did you guys nail that down?
That's how old the station is. We were here when the internet was invented.
Thefox.com. All right, go find it. It's worth listening to.
Al Gore said, "Hey, y'all want thefox.com before this thing goes big or what?"
That's not true.
Most stuff I said today is, though.
Uncle Nasty, Gregg Stone. He goes by a lot of names. It's great to talk to you, brother. Thanks for being here.
Take it easy. Learn that name. Say it over and over.
That's right.
Yeah, your day's coming, buddy.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Kostaki.